I never thought my marriage would end over a croissant. That morning in a sun-drenched loft in Lisbon, owned by a soft-spoken Portuguese architect named Mateus, I stood pretending to admire the view while my husband, Nathan, chatted away in fluent Portuguese. For 16 years I'd been the good wife, the one who smiled, nodded, and let him steer every decision. I worked part-time bookkeeping from home, kept the house spotless, and swallowed every opinion before it left my mouth. Nathan liked me quiet. Quiet wives don't complicate things. But I wasn't quiet anymore. Not inside. 6 months earlier, restless and invisible, I'd secretly started learning Portuguese on an app. 10 minutes at night after he fell asleep with the TV blaring. 10 minutes became 20, then whole evenings with headphones on, mouthing words like liberdade and coragem. I filled notebooks I hid beneath winter sweaters. I watched Brazilian series without subtitles. I even dreamed in Portuguese. And I never told Nathan. The language became my private rebellion, the one place he couldn't follow. So when he announced we were flying to Lisbon to look at an investment apartment, I said nothing. When he bragged he'd handle everything because Portuguese is basically Spanish with marbles in their mouth, I smiled the small smile he expected. And when Mateus greeted us at the door of the most beautiful home I'd ever seen, white walls, Atlantic light, a terrace that made my chest ache, I kept my face blank, the perfect clueless wife. Nathan switched to Portuguese the moment the door closed. He always did that when he wanted to feel superior. Mateus offered coffee. Nathan accepted for both of us. They walked room to room while I trailed behind, pretending I couldn't understand a word. Then Mateus mentioned the paperwork. In Portugal, he explained gently, sometimes only one spouse's name goes on the initial contract for tax reasons, but it's easily corrected later. Perfectly normal. Nathan laughed low, dismissive, and said clear as day, she won't notice. She never notices anything. Put everything in my name. She signs whatever I put in front of her. My blood turned to ice. The terrace disappeared. All I could hear were those words looping. She never notices anything. I stood there clutching my purse while the two men kept talking, Nathan already planning how he'd flip the apartment in 5 years, how I'd never have to worry my pretty little head. Mateus glanced at me once, something flickering in his eyes. Pity, maybe recognition, and I realized he knew. He knew I understood every syllable. The ride back to the hotel was silent. Nathan hummed, pleased with his cleverness. I stared at the ocean and felt 15 years of swallowed words rise like bile. That night, after he passed out snoring, I sat on the balcony and called Mateus. My voice shook, but the words came out in perfect Portuguese. I understood everything, I said. A long pause. Then, softly, I thought you might. He told me about his sister, how she'd once sat in that same loft, silent, while her husband tried to erase her from the deed. How she'd left with nothing but a suitcase and rebuilt everything twice as strong. If you want the apartment, Mateus said, I'll hold it. No rules. And I'll make sure the contract has your name first. I cried then, ugly and loud, into a hotel towel so Nathan wouldn't hear. 3 weeks later, I served the divorce papers in the kitchen of our suburban house while he ate cereal. He laughed at first, actually laughed, until I slid the Portuguese contract across the table, my name alone on the buyer line, deposit already paid. His face went white. Where did you, he started. I answered in Portuguese. Fluent, calm, merciless. He moved out the next day. The sale of our old house gave me enough for the down payment. Mateus dropped the price without my asking. On closing day, he handed me the keys and said, Welcome home, Anna. I'd started using my middle name, no more Mrs. Anyone. 6 months later, I stood on that same terrace at sunset, glass of vinho verde in hand, speaking rapid Portuguese on a work call, new job, remote finance for a Lisbon startup, salary higher than Nathan ever earned. My balcony plants were thriving. My bookshelves were full. My voice filled every room. Someone buzzed the intercom. I pressed the button. Delivery for Ana Ribeiro, a familiar voice said. I smiled. The man from my advanced certification course, the The quiet architect with kind eyes who always saved me a seat was early for dinner. I let him in. For the first time in 16 years, I wasn't holding my breath. If you're watching this and something in your chest just cracked open, listen to me. The door isn't locked from the outside. The key has always been in your hand. You just have to turn it. Now tell me in the comments, where are you watching from, and what language are you secretly learning tonight? Your new life is waiting. Go claim it.